Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Umer Farooq, and you are watching English with Umer. So, in today's lecture, we will cover the summary and analysis of the play Progress, written by St. John Green Irwin. So, let's start. So, I have made some boxes, 6 boxes you can see in front of you on the screen. Summary of display, brief and concise summary you can easily pick up from these points. So let's start. First of all, the scene and setting was that it was the death anniversary of Mrs. Meldon's son, Eddie, who was captain in army, and he was killed in the age of 19 by the enemy. His body was obliterated, though it was told to Mrs. Maldon that your son was gracefully buried, etc. But actually, when she came to know that his body was mutilated and a shell totally destroyed or wiped out his body, she was very sad. So she is coming to the house of her sister, her brother, Mr. Corey, Professor Corey, who was a scientist, who was a brilliant scientist, and she is coming to her house. He did not go there at the station to receive her, and she herself comes with driver Marshall to the house of Professor Corey. When she arrives there, even Professor Corey did not go downstairs to receive her, and a maid servant Hannah, she brings her upstairs and Professor Corey meets her. He says that I'm very sorry, I could not go there to receive you. As in the second box, you can see Mrs. Meldon arrival. So when she arrives, Professor Corey was also busy at that time with his experiment. Box 3, you can see Professor Corey was totally absorbed. He was observing the retort where the experiment was going on. What was the experiment? The experiment of making an unprecedented, horrible sort of bomb, which was to attack the enemy and totally wipe out the enemy. So he says that my invention is so uh, wonderful and so important that I couldn't go to station or downstairs even to receive you. Mrs. Meldon and Professor Corey now starts discussing. As you can see, box number 4, dialogue starts. So Mrs. Meldon asks time and again that what's your invention? Is it the invention which will restrict the duration of war, which can limit the war, which can control war? But Professor Corey time and again says that my invention is more than that. My invention is a great patriotic sort of deed which will make me remember for a long time. Mrs. Meldon is a simple woman. She is very sensitive and she is lamenting over the death of her son Eddie and her husband Mr. Tom Meldon, who died of heart failure after Eddie's death. So she time and again discusses about Eddie's death, about Eddie's birth, about Eddie's puberty, about Eddie's schooling, playing cricket, etc. And Professor Corey, you can say box number 4, I have written difference of opinion is there. Professor Corey is again and again, you can say, blowing his own trumpet, and he says that my invention, and he starts narrating the merits of his invention, that it is very great invention. Nobody has made such a horrible, such an unprecedented sort of invention. So he again and again wants to shift the topic, but Mrs. Maldon, she discusses about AD, about his life, about his birth, about his young age, schooling, how he play cricket, and how he was loved by both the parents. And when he joined army, it was the age of 19 only, etc. Then discussion goes on. Professor Corey says that war is incumbent, indispensable, and there is no end to war. But Mrs. Meldon say war is necessary, obligatory. Why do you say this? She says war is organized, has box number 6, you can see, organized butchery of young boys. She calls war as an organized butchery of young boys, just like her son Eddie was killed and his body was blown into pieces. So she hates war. Then Mrs. Professor Corey says again and again, he talks about his invention, and he asks her, what should I demand for this bomb, this invention? When she comes to know that this invention is very horrible and it can obliterate the bodies of millions of people within no time, and it can wipe out the nation, so she feels for the women of other countries, and she says that its price, I think it should be, as you can see in box number 7, 30 pieces of silver. So it has very historical significance. 30 pieces of silver. Judas, who betrayed the Jesus Christ, Isa alayhi salam, he was given 30 pieces as a reward. He was a traitor. So Mrs. Maldon calls her brother a traitor, that he should take 30 pieces of silver, just like Judas. So Mrs. Professor Corey becomes angry. She again and again, you can say, requests him to suppress the invention. Box number, you can say 8, I have written suppressing the invention. She time and again says that give up your invention, forget your invention, forget the formula, and people will remember you. But Professor Corey says that only fool like you are religious fanatics. They will remember me, but actually the wise people, they will say that why I have destroyed my formula. They will curse me. So he is persistent to carry on his experiment, to carry on his invention, and he does not suppress the invention. Then, in a fit of anger, Mrs. Maldon turns the table turns the table down, and all the apparatus, all the retorts, the experiment was going on, they were broken into pieces, and there was mess on the floor. So Professor Corey becomes red with anger, and he says that what the hell you are doing. Then Mrs. Maldon, he asked Mrs. Maldon, go there and bring that cleansing cloth, and I'll clean this mess or rubbish you have made here on the floor. She goes there, and she observes a long, a big sort of dagger. You can see a big knife was there, and she takes that very dagger and hides it. When she again comes to Professor Corey, he angrily asks her, why are you so late? Why are you making me late? Let's clean this rubbish. Let's clean this mess. She again gives him chance that, are you not going to suppress your invention? Are you not going to give up this horrible invention of bomb? He says, no, never. Then she finally, in a fit of anger, in a fit of, you can say, emotions, she stabs her own brother, Professor Corey, and this is the end of this play. So, hope you have got the summary. Now we are going to discuss the analysis of this play. This is, I have noted in points, and it is brief analysis. One act play. You can see that in play there are different sort of acts, but it is very short and one act play. Only one act is there. Then the second point, a melodrama. You know that a melodrama is that drama which has three major elements. One is suspense. Suspense is there in this play, as you know, from the beginning to end. We are not sure what is going to be happen, whether Professor Corey will kill Mrs. Maldon or kick her out, or Mrs. Maldon will do something. So suspense was there. Then it's a short length melodrama, short length. This is the second element. And third element, killing of one person. Definitely, in the end, you can see that Professor Corey was killed. So the third point, little physical action. There is no such physical action. Only few characters are there, major characters and minor characters I have discussed in previous lecture. So Mrs. Maldon and Professor Corey, they are the two active characters, and there is a little physical action performed by these two actions, these two characters. Next point I have written here, convincing dialogues. If you ponder over the dialogues, if you look at the dialogues, dialogues are very convincing. Mrs. Meldon, though she is not so educated and not so clever sort of lady, but her dialogues were very touching. Mystic sort of dialogues were there. When she says, for example, my whole mind was praying for AD. And similarly, Professor Corey, he argues very much that I am doing this deed because it's the need of the day, it's the call of the day that we should attack first of all, and who attacks first, he wins. So convincing dialogues are there. Next point, impressive stage techniques. Stage techniques, you know that play is basically written to perform on the stage. So in this play, uh, progress, we can see that stage techniques are very important. And at that time, it was played on this, you can say, Abbey Theatre of Dublin, England. So stage techniques, those were prevailing in that era, were used impressively, abundantly, and you can say successfully as well. Then next point is that uh, anti-war sentiments are there. Professor Corey is pro-war personality, and Mrs. Maldon is anti-war personality. She dislikes war, and she says that it's an organized butchery of young boys. But Professor Corey again and again says that war is indispensable, war is necessary, and war will happen, war will come, war will occur. So he was also right to some extent. Then, last point I have noted here, autobiographical touch is there. Why the writer, the author of this play, St. John Green Irwin, he himself, you can say, participated in this war, World War First, and he lost his one leg. So he disliked war as well. He disliked war himself. So biographical, autobiographical touch is there. So this was brief summary and analysis of this play, and hope you have understood. Subscribe to my channel, English with Umar, for next stunning videos, English, grammar, etc. Thank you all. Why, Mr.